9th. Andretti back to 10th. But Dixon is now down to just 1 push to pass remaining. And Marco has 4. Nothing has changed up front. Race lead is still held by Will Power. This has been some of the best action we've had the last few laps.
And for Dixon, he used it originally as a defensive move to Helio Castroneves, and then he used it as a defensive move, and then he used it as an offensive move to get around Marco Andretti, and now he's stretched a little bit of a lead out, so now he's going to try and chase down Tony Kanaan.
And that would be for 8th position if he can get there. And looks like Helio's got a good run potentially going as we move a little bit further. There's Dan Weldon. He's got his mirrors full as well. Down into the boot. 7 laps remaining here at the Glen. Weldon, we told you he is out of push to pass. His battle with Marias is for the 4th position. He holds it. Marias would like to get it. Right in front of them is Rafi Matos.
Matos has done a great job. He won the Indy Lights race here last year. Gilles de Ferran very high on this driver. And Rafa just really excited about having the opportunity to work with a team that's continuing, it's growing, it's building. A one-car team, though, that's the difficulty you have when you get to new circuits or you get to a circuit where your car's not working. You don't have the opportunity to get some information from a teammate. So we see co-owner Gilles de Ferran on your right-hand side of the screen. If they can make this team a 2-car team next year, watch for this team to continue to build with owners Gilles de Ferran and Jay Penske.
Rafi right there in 4th position, and that was Jay right there standing alongside of Gilles. Behind him, Dan Weldon, Mario Marias. A little bit further back, Ryan Hunter-Reay has worked his way back. Remember, he stalled the car on pit lane. He is now running in 7th position. There's Tony Kanaan going through in 8th. Scott Dixon there in 9th. Helio Castroneves. And what's happened to Marco Andretti? He has dropped 2 positions in the last 2 laps, and he's under attack again from Justin Wilson.
Car's not working for him. When you don't come off the last turn and get your speed going up the hill, that's usually a cornering issue, and you're not very comfortable with the car. So he does not seem to be able to get onto the power as quickly as everybody else to carry that speed out of turn 1 up through the hill and down that backstretch. Marco was looking really good at the beginning of the day, but right now finds himself in 12th position and going south. Spoke to them earlier just in the garage area, and I think they were all very optimistic because he has run well here previously and looking for a better finish today, but that's not going to be the case. Can you hear anything? See anything? A little bit of coasting into the turn. Usually you're down to the turn, hard on the brake, banging through the gears, and right back on the gas. But right now he seems conceded that he does not have a car underneath him that's going to work very well. So he's trying to click off the laps by the sound of it. There is one more potential answer. Maybe he is being told that he is using too much fuel. Well, you know, you brought up a point that, you know, he was in the same category as everybody else as far as in-lap was concerned. So were they getting all the fuel into the car? Was it getting completely filled up for the 22 gallons? Remember, last year with Justin Wilson, they were only getting 19 gallons of fuel into the car. So maybe he did not get a full tank. All right, let's check back in on the race lead because you see Dario Franchitti has used the push to pass. He is down to 2. Remember when he was like at 5? He is trying to close the gap because he knows that the laps are winding down, Vince.
Well, and that lead has stretched to almost 1.5 seconds now for Will Power. Remember when it was down under 1 second, so Power has been able to stretch that lead a little bit, despite the fact that Franchitti had a couple of extra push to pass and 1 extra lap of fuel. You know, when Franchitti was here a couple of weeks ago for a test, he stayed at the Glen Motor Inn in the same room that his hero Jim Clark used to stay in when they came here for the Formula One race. Clark has won here 3 times. It would mean so much for Dario to get that win here at Watkins Glen. But it doesn't look like that's going to happen today unless something drastically changes here in the next couple of laps.
Well, there you can see the margin between the top 3, and Briscoe is getting back into this now. Remember, he was starting to lose contact with Dario, but now Dario has lost contact with the race leader, and Will Power has stretched it out now to 1.3 seconds with 4 laps to go. Well, usually Will Power has been clicking off laps that were just a couple of tenths quicker than Franchitti. That last time Franchitti just about the same speed, and Briscoe seems to be pulling it up just a little bit, but
you have to catch up to the driver in front first, and getting past usually is a little bit more of a difficult task.
Power on the push to pass right now. That brings him down to 3. They go through the bus stop one more time, and it is still a 1.3-second lead.
Well, smart job by Will Power, because you get that push to pass that lasts for 22 seconds. You push it probably coming out of turn 1 to get that run going all the way down the straightaway, and to try to keep that barrier in between him and the second-place car of Dario Franchitti.
Climbing up now towards turn number 8. Margin is still the same at 1.3. Remember, Penske has owned the pole position here, winning it all 6 years that the IZOD IndyCar Series has raced here at Watkins Glen, but has never sealed the deal with a victory. Power talked to us at the beginning of the race about that hex and saying that he has done everything and will do everything to break it, and he is about just over 3 laps away from fulfilling that quest.
And it looked like Franchitti had a little bit of a problem in turn 9. You see the push to pass at the top of your screen for both Franchitti and Briscoe. Both have 2 left at this point in time. Briscoe did get a little bit closer. Looks like Dario now has turned around and made that gap to what it was before.
While this goes on, I'll update you verbally. Marco Andretti's troubles continue. He has dropped back to 14th. Hideki Muto has gotten around, and so has E.J. Vizo. And while all that's going on, here is the battle up front between the top 3. And it's actually getting a little bit closer between Briscoe and Franchitti at half a second.
Will Power so smooth going through those turns. He just makes the car look like it goes through effortlessly. He just does a very nice job. A bit of a dream season he set for himself this year, because he now gets to drive for Penske Racing full time. Got engaged just over the winter time to his fiancée Elizabeth Cannon when they were doing a carriage ride in Indianapolis. They will take a vacation to Hawaii for their marriage later this year in December.
While this continues, you look at the telemetry on Power. Let's update you on a few other cars as the laps continue to wind down. There are 22 cars on the lead lap. The last car in 22nd place is Danica Patrick. She's 34 seconds behind the race lead. Milka Dono is still out on the track. She is 3 laps down in 23rd. And those are the only cars still running here in the race. This time by 2 laps remaining. And if Briscoe has anything for Franchitti, and if both of them have anything for Power, they better ignite the afterburners.
Well, in the infield section on the new portion of the track down in the boot, it looks like Briscoe does get a little bit closer to Franchitti, but as soon as they get back up onto the original track through turns 9, 10, and 11, then Franchitti seems to be able to stretch that gap out one more time.
From high above, you can see them coming up through the S's down the back stretch. Franchitti right ahead of Briscoe.
172 miles an hour in this area, hard on the brakes through the bus stop that they're going through right now, back on the gas, run through the carousel. You'll see the right-hand portion of the track leads off, and that's the NASCAR track. Now we're going down to the extension, into the boot as they call it. Neat, going towards turn 7, back up through the gears. Turn 7 is a neat turn because you're hard on the brakes and you go uphill. It's a compression. The steering gets very heavy in the car. You get yourself pushed into the seat. Then you're up the hill, going towards turn 8. Hard on the brakes, but it's a very bumpy section in here. This is where Briscoe always seems just to catch, as we're seeing him there again. But he can't keep that gap the same, so he can have a shot at Franchitti as they come to the front section. Franchitti does seem to get through 9 here just a little bit better. The power down. And then through 10, 140 miles an hour on the entry through there. Oh, right over on the curbing. Here is an opportunity for Briscoe. Franchitti had a mistake in his back end, sliding around. Get the draft, dive on the inside. Will he get that done? Only 1 lap left to go.
He's got the momentum on the white flag lap going, and he's got the position going in, and he's going to take the position away from Dario Franchitti. So the bobble costs him dearly. Briscoe using that push to pass. So is Franchitti. And now it's a matter of, could it be a Penske 1-2 sweep? One minor mistake has cost Franchitti 2nd position. Tony Kanaan is being forced to pit. Splash and go. It's going to knock him.
And a stall.
And he stalled the car through the bus stop chicane while all that continues. Franchitti doesn't look like he's going to be able to catch back up. The last time Roger Penske won here at the Glen was 1981. And the man behind the wheel was Rick Mears. Today, it looks like it's going to be a 1-2 finish for Team Penske. Will Power